all these screams. And the police chase him and they catch him. And he claimed he claimed first that he didn't know what they were talking about, but he had like blood and gray matter all over his clothes. So
I don't know what you're talking about, officer. This is my blood.
Yeah. I was just totally bleeding on myself.
Yeah,
I had a bloody nose.
Yeah. And the judicial system was a little less sclerotic back in those days. It moved pretty quick. He was arrested in October, and he was tried in November. And the trial lasted, I believe, 2.5 days, and the jury deliberated, I believe, 35 minutes.
Yeah.
And,
so this is an episode of Law and Order.
I know. So after he was convicted and he was sent to death row, he was in Walla Walla State Penitentiary. He asked for clemency. Basically, he wanted them to put off his date of death. And his bargaining chip was he promised to confess to 44 other murders. He said he had knowledge of... He had committed 44 other murders.
Oh, my gosh.
Or taken part in 44 other murders.
Wow.
Yeah, this guy was a fairly successful serial killer.
I mean, 48.
Uh-huh.
So, having spent 31 years of his life in jail.
So where all is he saying that he did all this killing? Because obviously it wasn't in just Washington.
Yeah, no, it was all over the country. They were actually able to solve, I think, 11 or 12 crimes based on his confessions.
Wow.
And some of the other ones they didn't believe him. They found there were murders in Illinois, Colorado, Kentucky, Nebraska, Kansas, South Dakota, Ohio, Florida, Texas, Wisconsin, and, of course, Washington, where Tacoma is situated. He didn't confess to anything in New Orleans. He was put to death July 1949, so that would have made him, 47 years old, 48 years old?
48.
That would have made him...
Yeah, 48.
Yeah.
So the reasons to think he might have been the killer, well, he liked the whole axe thing. Apparently, he claimed to have killed a lot of people using axes. And like the Axeman, he used an axe or a hatchet found at the victims' homes. Yeah, and he's sneaky looking. I've seen pictures of him. So, there you go.
Wow, that's a credible reason, Joe. Thank you, buddy.
I think he looks kind of shifty. Well, that's good enough for me. Yeah. Okay, the reasons I don't think he's a killer. Nothing, in the case of the Axeman, he didn't take anything from the victims' homes. He wasn't there to rob them. And in the case of Jake Bird, it seemed to me like the guy probably could have used money. He was a transient, taking odd jobs and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, if you see a bunch of stuff laying around that's valuable, if you see some cash, you're going to take it, right?
Yeah.
That's one reason I don't think he was the Axeman. Another reason is he did confess and gave details about a lot of murders, but he never confessed to anything in New Orleans.
And that seems like the sort of thing you would have...
Yeah, even though there are people who think that he was indeed the infamous Axeman of New Orleans. Now, he didn't really volunteer to take credit for those. Why wouldn't he?
Unless, okay, again, this is trying to step into the mind of somebody that I've never met 100 years ago.
Yeah.
But maybe he has somebody in that area that he's protecting. In other words, he might have had family that were involved in some of these things that he did or that helped cover it up, and he doesn't want to spill the beans on them.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, this is complete and total just made up. Yeah. But I'm just trying to think, because if he is that prolific and he's from that area, why wouldn't he start there?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Good place to practice your craft.
People don't come upon just killing people at 30. They when they have this kind of serial compulsion, these behaviors, these things start out early.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So it seems like he would have been doing it where he lived. Now, I don't know, Joe. I never saw it when I read the information on Jake Bird, but do you know how old was he when he left New Orleans? Do you know?
Well, he was actually born and raised in rural Louisiana, so I'm not sure.
Well, in Louisiana.
In Louisiana. He left when he was 19.
Okay, so he would have been in the area, which, I mean, this is, again, I'm just linking related facts. 1919 is the last official attack, and then he leaves the area.
I know. Possible.
There's a correlation there.
It's possible, but of course, this is all. Everything about this guy, though, was like his date of birth, where he was born, when he left rural Louisiana to travel the country. It was all basically what he told the cops, so he could have been lying about all that stuff too.
And that is the problem.
And my biggest problem is, like, why would you admit to some but not all of the murders that you have? Especially if they were, kind of this prolific sort of, like, beginning period where, like, there's a lot of, I guess, kind of bargaining material there, particularly to be able to say, like, hey, if you extend my life, I'll admit to being the New Orleans axe murderer. I mean,
yeah. Well, and the thing about it is the New Orleans axe murders were the most notorious ones. The ones that got the most publicity. You'd think that he would be, in a sense, it's kind of twisted, but you think he would be proudest of that accomplishment and want to tell the world about it. You know, I was the Axeman.
I put that city in fear.
I know. Everybody lived in terror of me, but of course.
Until they listened to jazz music.
Yeah, listen to jazz music, you'll be fine. Yeah, so anyway, another mystery solved. I really do buy, I think, the idea that this wasn't actually just a serial killer, but was really just mob warfare, and that a lot of these people were involved. It
is convenient, and because a lot of them were native Italians. And this is one of those, if not necessarily involved in, this is an attack because you didn't pay your protection money kind of situation, which is known to have been practiced.
Yeah, I mean, it would explain why they lived, right? That it was really punishment, not like actual attack on their lives. If they were all shopkeepers that lived in their shops, it could be that they were like supposed to be smuggling something, or supposed to be a front, or just simply, as Steve said, not paying their dues. I mean, there's definitely a lot of good...
all kinds of mob things
or it could have been,
see happening.
Yeah, it could have been that kind of thing. It could have been warfare. Somebody was trying to say their rival gang is moving in and he's trying to take over, so he starts killing soldiers and stuff like that.
Or you didn't take my offer to be brought in, and I'm gonna attack you and kill you. So the next guy I go to, I say, hey, so that other shopkeeper, you didn't take my offer, and you saw what happened to him.
Yeah. And then on top of that, I still do believe that probably a few of these are, as you say, piggybacking people, just opportunism. People decide, time to settle that score.
Yeah, totally.
So, okay, so another mystery solved. You're probably
Actually,
wanting to know.
You know what? More than like ever, I've kind of...
Actually, you know what I gotta say is that from everything that we read online, and anybody who's ever done any investigation in this, Joe has actually brought up some salient points that people don't always bring up. So I think that we've actually at least shed some light where maybe it's not been done, where most people just focus on the letter and everything. I think we did okay.
The letter was cool, but I'm not even sure the letter
we did awesome.
Was written by the actor.
We did fantastic.
Oh, yeah, we're fantastic.
We totally solved it.
No, we did, obviously. Yeah. So you're probably wanting to know, folks, who are good listeners, you probably want to know where to send the money. Well... actually, you probably want to know where to find this, but of course you've already found this. But maybe you found this in one place, but you don't know about the other places to go find this. So let's start from the top. ThinkingSidewayspodcast.com, our webpage. You will find all kinds of good stuff out there, links to where you can download our show and all that stuff. You can also find us on iTunes, and if you find us on iTunes, please take the time to stop, give us a rating, give us a review. We'd really appreciate it. If you don't have time to go download us, then you can stream us on Stitcher.
And by the way, everybody knows that we drop our shows on Thursday mornings, which I'm remiss to say that we haven't mentioned before, but for our friends who are in Australia that we know are downloading, I guess that's Friday afternoon.
Yeah,
sorry guys.
Sorry.
Totally discovered that the other day by accident, realized I screwed up when we said that.
Also, we're on Facebook, so definitely find us on Facebook and friend us and comment and post stuff to our site or whatever, or to our, what do they call it these days, timeline?
How does the Facebook thing work?
I don't know. How does it work? Yeah.
I don't know. You can like us, and you can join the group.
And you can join the group.
The group is actually having some... There has been... People are continually joining the group, and it's actually making some fun interactions and discussions. So I'm really... I actually enjoy the group more than the page, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Last of all, if you'd like to communicate with us, you don't have our phone number, and you never will, but you can have, well, maybe some of you will, I don't know, but you can email us at thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. And believe me, you don't always necessarily get a reply back or get your email read over the show, but we do read each and every one of your emails.
Actually, everybody gets a reply back.
Everybody does?
Every email that we get that is not somebody that says, from.
Yeah.
No, those guys get put in the spam box.
Yeah, the ones that are obviously
we reply
bots,
to everybody.
Yeah.
I know you don't because you're not a part of it, but Steve and
I'm a slacker. No, I check the email account occasionally, but I'm not as assiduous about it as you guys are.
True,
Yeah, it's that whole it pops into my phone thing.
Yeah, but speaking of email, don't we? I think we've gotten a bunch of emails, and there was one. There was one that you wanted to read. I think.
Yeah. No, and I wanted to say, I think you touched on this a little bit, Joe. Is this week alone, and of course we record the shows. So the week that we're recording, we got a bunch of email traffic, and everything was great. And for everybody who sent us an email with suggestions and kudos and accolades and all that, appreciate that. But there's one that I really, really enjoyed, and that's what I wanted to read.
Oh, okay. Read away.
This is from Nicole, and Nicole says, "Hi guys and girly.
Yeah.
I recently discovered your podcast while searching for ones about Carnex stones and have had a healthy addiction ever since."
Healthy is a bad choice of words.
It's the best kind of addiction.
I think this is a healthier addiction than, say, smack.
That's fair.
Can we...
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
All right, thank you. You guys do your homework, often intelligently feasible theories, and infuse it with a lot of humor. Today alone, I've busted out laughing twice while catching up on some of your older episodes. I commute about 70 miles to work and listen to you.
Crap.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, that's hideous.
That's a huge commute. I whine about my commute.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, me too.
I commute about 70 miles to work, and listening to you guys really helps me pass the time. I also am pleasantly surprised to know that you're from Portland, Oregon, which is obviously where we are, as I was born and raised in the Willamette Valley, which for anybody who doesn't know the Portland area, we're in Oregon, which Portland is at the north tip.
Yeah.
And the Willamette Valley is south of us. So Eugene, you know where Eugene or Salem-ish is?
Yeah, all right.
These are big cities.
For those Simpsons fans, Springfield.
Yeah. Springfield.
They finally, and by the way, they finally revealed that, yes, indeed, Springfield, Oregon is the setting.
Of course it is, because Matt Groening's from Portland. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Anyway.
We all knew
They were
that.
coy about that for years.
Yeah. But, you know, Nicole then goes on to suggest a story for us to look into, which
cool. Thanks,
was
Nicole.
friggin' hilarious. And I have an idea on how to work that in somewhere, though I'm, as always, not going to reveal that to anybody, including you two yoo-hoos.
Spoiler.
Yeah, so, but no, thank you, Nicole, for the email, and that is a terrible commute, and I'm happy that we're at least making it a little more bearable.
Better for you, and I hope you find either a job that's closer to home or a home that's closer to job. Good luck to you.
Isn't that sad when that's the state of affairs in our world?
I don't. I hope she continues to commute.
Stop listening to it. Yeah, that's a good point.
Oh, no. Please stay at that job, Nicole. Love it. Don't ever leave.
Never leave.
Is that better?
Exactly. Better.
Okay.
Thanks very much for the email, Nicole, and for thinking sideways. I would like to say goodbye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
And when I say goodbye, I don't mean forever. I just mean for this week.
Thinking sideways.
I don't understand.
Does not compute.
You never know.
Insufficient data to formulate a reply.
Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Hi there. Welcome once again to Thinking Sideways, the show that tackles all the tough mysteries and solves them every time. I'm Joe, joined as always by
Steve.
And
Devin.
Insert Scooby-Doo music for that intro.
Yeah, right?
All right, so we have a really hard-hitting mystery to solve tonight.
Really fresh off the boat, this one. Yeah.
So, this story is called The Mad Plapper of Wat River.
No.
Are you Elmer Fudd now?
Yeah. Oh, okay. The Mad Trapper of Rat River. And some of you may have heard of this. Actually, before I forget, I want to mention, give a little shout-out to our listener, Jacob, who recommended this particular little story to us.
Oh.
Yeah, thanks, Jacob.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's just take it from the top. One day in July 1931, a man calling himself Albert Johnson arrived in Fort McPherson, Northwest Territories, Canada. And according to some versions of the story, he stayed there long enough to build a boat that he was going to use to travel down the Mackenzie River. Constable Edgar Millen talked to him, but didn't get a whole lot of information from him. Because from McPherson's probably a pretty small place. So,
well, and this is 1931?
1931, and this is way up in the far, far north of the Northwest Territories, almost to the Beaufort Sea, which is like,
Arctic Circle, right?
Yeah, it's well above the Arctic Circle.
Okay.
Huh.
Way up there. Not a lot of people live up there.
Yeah, not probably a happening spot.
Yeah, so anyway, Constable Millen said later that he thought that Johnson had a Scandinavian accent.
Huh.
Yeah, and coincidence here, Johnson eventually killed Millen, but we'll get to that a little bit later on.
Foreshadowing. Nice.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Little did we know at that moment that he would soon lie dying at the hands of Albert Johnson. Not his real name. Okay, so anyway, Johnson got his boat and left and went down the Mackenzie River and went up the Rat River. I don't know why they named it the Rat River.
Because it had a lot of rats.
That's what I'm guessing.
No, it's too cold for rats up there.
That's true.
I don't know about that. Rats live everywhere.
Yeah.
Rodents live everywhere.
That's a good point. They're pretty hardy little creatures. Okay, so anyway, he goes on the banks of the Rat River. He builds himself a cozy little 8x10 log cabin. It's got a door. Yeah, it's very cozy. 8x10, are you kidding me? So he builds this log cabin. As it turns out, it had double log walls with about the first 2-3 feet of the wall on the inside. There was an extra layer of logs with earth jammed in between the two layers of logs.
So a hefty foundation.
Yeah, and a nice little spot to like hunker down behind with your gun if you're gonna get in a shootout. Apparently, this guy was expecting trouble from day one. So he not only had these double log walls, but he had also cut gun slits all the way around, so he could basically cover everywhere around his cabin through these slits with his rifle.
Interesting.
Yeah, a paranoid guy.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. The local Indians noticed that somebody was messing with their traps. You know how traps work. You put them out there, some hapless animal steps in them and it clamps onto their leg, and then they chew their leg off and run away, and then get eaten by some other animal because they can't run anymore. So that's the way trapping works.
Right.
So they put
in a nutshell.
Yeah. So they noticed that somebody was tripping their traps and in some cases moving them, hanging them from bushes, trees, whatever. So somebody's messing with their livelihood. And since he was the only new person around, he was the only thing that had changed over the past year, they immediately decided it probably was him. So they complained to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
The Mounties!
Yes, the Mounties. In Aklavik, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that town's name correctly, which is the nearest town, obviously. And so, the day after Christmas 1931, two constables left Aklavik and trekked the 60 miles to his cabin. And I don't know, I'm assuming they did the whole dog sled routine. I'm not really sure, but...
Yeah, I can't imagine they walked that.
I can't imagine they walked 60 miles on...
Christmas?
The day after
in
Christmas.
the Arctic Circle.
Yeah.
There's a lot of snow on the ground.
I know.
Yeah.
I think it's dog sled time.
I would agree.
Yeah. So they went to Johnson's cabin. Again, did I mention it's 60 miles? Yeah, to question him. Johnson was home, but he refused to talk to them or really even acknowledge them. They were knocking on the door and stuff, and he just was pretending like he didn't even hear them. So he didn't let them in, and he wouldn't talk to them. So
maybe he didn't hear them.
Yeah, maybe he was deaf.
No, because I remember reading one of the accounts that he had windows.
He had
and they went to peer in the windows, and he threw a grain sack in the window to cover the window so they couldn't see in.
Okay.
Yeah. Not a very sociable fellow. But, really, he probably should have just had a polite conversation with him. He could have avoided a lot of heartache down the line. But the constables decided that they needed to go get a search warrant. So they returned to Aklavik.
60 miles.
Yeah,
back.
60 miles. 120 miles for nothing. Yeah. They make this round trip quite a few times, actually.
I think it was 120 miles to find out that he's kind of a skis.
Yeah, I know. He's kind of a sketchy character.
He's a weirdo.
5 days later, they returned with two more men. Once again, he wouldn't talk, wouldn't answer the door or anything like that. So one of the constables decided to force the door. So while he's doing that, suddenly a shot rings out. Johnson had fired a round through the door, which wounded the constable. There was a bit of a shootout. Nobody else got shot, fortunately, except, it would have been fortunate if Johnson had gotten shot. And so they scraped up their wounded comrade and headed back to Aklavik once again, 60 miles. And next time they came back, they had 9 men. There were Mounties, some native guides, and a couple of trappers.
So this is the third time.
The third trip out.
So we're 360 miles round trip to bring in, or 300 miles round trip so far to bring a bunch more guys.
Mm-hmm.
This is a lot of traveling in an age where you can't travel quickly.
Yeah.
Just to talk to some dude.
Yeah, I know.
About traps.
Yeah, about some traps.
And it's like, you got to hand it to these guys for their hardiness because